So Kevin has kindly agreed to join me on stage for this session where we're going to talk about goals. And the idea is to really showcase that this isn't about that there's a very simple answer for you and that, that some firms have sort of dealt with the magic from day one. This is about a journey that you might go through. And we did a survey back in the autumn when Kevin and I sort of did a series of roadshows. And there were three main things that came out of this roadshow that were affecting you, our customers. Work-life balance being a really big challenge for you and the people that you've got working with you. The idea of retirement or considering retirement, and they were all sort of your personal objectives. And then this idea of, okay, what were the business, the practice objectives? And that was all around growth, maximizing profitability, and then, selling as such and things like that. And actually, a lot of those sort of have a linkage. And what we're going to share with Kevin really is about how those things have sort of affected him. Now, there isn't a silver bullet. There isn't a Google search for this kind of thing. It's one of those journeys that you go through, and that your goals and objectives will change over time. So Kevin, before we get into the sort of nitty-gritty, just tell me a little bit about you, your firm, or tell the audience.
Okay, so we are based in a little town called Gillingham in North Dorset. Been running the practice since 1991, so been around for a little while. And we've learnt a whole pile of stuff. In fact, I've just found out I'm a 20-year user of Iris, so I've been around for a little while on that as well.
So we've, Kevin and I have sort of written this presentation. Best way to describe it is a book. And I feel a little bit sort of, I should have brought this red book and done a this is your life kind of moment at the end of this. So we've broken it into sort of 3 chapters. And chapter 1 is from 2008. And Kevin has kindly sort of stick some titles on this. And he called it the fight phase of his life. Now, on the screen above us, you'll see that we've got a timeline. So on your left-hand side, there's 3 dots. They coincide with Kevin's view on work-life balance, his business, so his growth as such, and his view on, okay, has he built a business that he could potentially sell? Now, they're color-coded. Green means good, as in it's going up. Red means bad, it's going down, and amber is sort of in the middle as such. And you'll see it as sort of like a heart rate, or 3 heart rates that goes all the way through the presentation. And you'll sort of get an idea of where Kevin is during his sort of these phases. So each year we go through, you'll sort of see that. So 2008, banking crisis.
Banking crisis.
Where were you in terms of what was your mind in?
We were facing this banking crisis and potentially facing a recession. And back in 1991, that's how I started my practice. I got made redundant and experienced all that hardship at that time. And when this banking crisis was announced, I thought, this is going through this again. This is scary stuff. I didn't want to be really taking part in it. So we set ourselves a mission to simply not take part in any recession. We were going to go for growth on the theory that if we doubled, trebled, quadrupled the amount of clients we have, we would lose some along the way, and the chances are we'd at least finish up after all this was going on a little bit ahead of the game. That was the sort of ultimate plan of it. It was a sort of moment of reflection when that was announced on the news.
So as we go through this sort of period of time, how was your practice changing then? Was it very traditional in the way?
Yeah, absolutely. We started off accounts, bookkeeping bureau, payroll bureau, compliance, everything was geared around that. And for the first few years of the business, it was just me. Then I took on some staff members, and we reached this sort of 2008 period. And I went out and I did what everybody else does. I just went networking. I did as much advertising as I could, built relationships with people who could recommend work, and it soon started to really take off. The more I went out and saw people, the more clients we took on, and it just grew and grew and grew like crazy for a little period.
I think something that will resonate with the audience is what was the most number of meetings most number of clients you met in one day?
Yeah, so where I live in North Dorset, the population is relatively small, so a lot of my business meetings would be in the south coast, Bournemouth, or even as far as Bristol and Southampton, places like that. So I'd literally go on the road and see people. And there was one day where I actually saw 9 people in one day in 9 separate locations, because that's how busy it was. We were just out on the road, just making it happen, really.
So as we sort of talk through this sort of that chapter one, that fight phase, on the sort of the graph that we've got your business growth going up, yeah, but your sort of personal sort of your work-life balance and your personal view sort of drastically going down. So what was the sort of I suppose where were you? Where was your mind in that kind of time?
The need to grow the business was obviously the goal. We wanted to go out and grow. So every time I was out in the car, every time I was out seeing people, it was like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. I'm getting out and growing this practice and taking on these clients. We then go through the sort of feast and famine, which I'm sure you've faced, is all of a sudden you have too much work and not enough members of staff. So the next thing was find another member of staff. And then you have too many members of staff and not enough work. So off you go again, and this constant thing was going. And there was points where we were taking on maybe 10 new clients a week just on an ongoing basis. And the fight then came, my internal fight with the thing that I was doing out, if you like, out driving the miles, meeting all the clients, and trying to onboard staff and keep all the team happy, and trying to keep them embraced in everything we were doing and all the growth, et cetera, that went with that. And that was a really, really hard moment within the business of trying to do everything. I just realized I needed another 24 hours every day.
Yeah. So we get to, I suppose, the end of that time, that 2013. So we'd had a royal wedding, we had an Olympics, Andy Murray had won Wimbledon. So all these major milestones have been happening sort of while you're going through this phase. You got to the end of that. I think, if I remember rightly, you were sort of 400 clients-ish, just thinking second office, and then you sort of reached that, hold on a second, what have I built here?
So we, in that sort of 2008 period, we had about 150 clients, and we grew that to 450. And in fact, Vic and I were talking about it, is that we probably took on well over 1,000 clients over that period, and we didn't keep them all. Some of them we just lost because we didn't keep them. Some of them didn't survive. That was the whole point of it. But we ended up with 450 clients. We ended up with 10 members of staff, and we were just about to open up a second office. And at that point, there was a moment where I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm running out of energy and time and ability to do this. So I thought, if I could use the internet to do my marketing, I could at least get back some of my time. I wouldn't have to keep doing these breakfast meetings and late night networking and black tie do's that I was doing where I was meeting lots of people. If I could just have half of my time back, that would be fantastic. And so I really pushed myself into some marketing exercises to learn how I could use pay-per-click and advertising online.
So you'd reached this sort of tipping point. Would you agree that you were pretty much compliance only at that stage?
Yeah. We had a big bookkeeping bureau. We had lots of records coming at us, left, right, and centre. We were doing payroll, and we were doing compliance. We were pretty good at the January deadline. We had lots of systems in place. We were using Iris a lot. We'd had the whole system all networked within the building. We moved offices amongst all this as well. We had a big 1,000 square foot office, and the technology and everything we had was all geared up for compliance. But really, we were focusing on not participating in the January deadlines. That was also part of it as well.
Yeah. So we get to the end of sort of chapter one, and you'd sort of, I suppose you'd had that first, I suppose, cathartic moment of, okay, what do I do now? I've built something that I actually don't like anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What was if we move into chapter two, which is this idea of insight, really, as to what you did, what was that first thing that made you think there is a different way?
Yeah, as part of attending some marketing seminars, if you like, we came to London, and I went to learn all about pay-per-click with Google. I thought this would be good. I'll spend a bit of money on advertising, get a load of clients in, that would save me some time. And during the presentation on stage, there was a guy talking about the 80-20 principle. And as he said this, it was almost like he was talking just to me for that moment. He said, what if you could take a 20% pay cut to get 80% of your time back? And I'm like, sign me up. What have I got to do? To this day, I've never used any pay-per-click. But that was a real turning point, because I came home and I just went, okay, let's have a look at all this 80-20. How can I apply this to everything that I do and use my accountancy skill and analyze everything. We analyze phone records, we analyze timesheets, we analyze clients' work. Just went crazy with analysis to go, okay, there's got to be a solution here, and this 80-20 had to be a clue.
And I mentioned this idea that there is no silver bullet for this kind of approach. So this journey of discovery in terms of what the data was telling you, that wasn't a one-year project. How long did that take, do you think?
It's funny you sit here now. It's like I can't remember. It's sort of there's a whole period of time, but it certainly wasn't a weekend and we changed it all. There were moments in time that we made some significant changes, but the whole process was probably end to end, if you like, probably a 3-year period of that moment where we went, this has got to change, and then we had to go through all that period. And of course, going through that period came with some pain, some real moments of, okay, in order to change things, we have to get rid of some clients, we have to get rid of some staff. We have to change the way we do things, change systems, change technology. And in amongst it as well, we realized as we looked at this is that the results or the information or the service that we were providing for our clients really wasn't good enough. It was good, compliance was good, but it didn't give them of any value. You know, none of our clients, and I've done exercises more recently with this, is not one single client lays at night at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking, a tax return, that's what I want, that'll solve all my worries this week. You know, our clients are busy with their businesses or their lives or the rest of it. They've got lots of worries and struggles, but compliance is important, but it's not the thing they're worrying about today. And I was trying to figure out how we could serve them better, actually help them better.
And again, if we look at our timeline as we're going that along, your business sort of, I wouldn't say suffered, but as you started to work out what you wanted, it shrank.
Yeah.
But your work-life component of it suddenly sparked back. Well, you got your passion back.
Yeah.
But it meant that you had to take a different approach with your team, and actually they started to shrink down, and you sort of changed the shape of your organization. You sort of changed it while you were living in the house and rebuilding it at the same time.
Yeah. One of the challenges was to actually work with the team around providing better service and changing the way we do things. There was actually quite a lot of resistance from the staff, just going, well, we've always done it this way. Why do you want to change it? Because their life, they were okay. They come to work at 9 o'clock, do a job, go home, end of. They didn't have to deal with the worry and the stress and everything. But that was the big challenge as well, is to get everything to change, all of the component parts. As you say, ripping a house apart while you're living in it. There was a moment where you just go, I don't know which is going to work here. You just had to sort of have the guts to persevere with some of it, really.
Yeah. And I think from the conversations we've had, one of the things that you established, and I think this really resonates with what Iris does as well with its customers and prospects, is you worked out what a good customer looked like and what a bad customer looked like. And then you went about your customer base trying to find the good and get rid of the bad.
Yeah.
What did you call them? You had names, didn't it?
Yeah, it was, again, something I learned from the marketing people, is that we identified our ideal customer. And in doing that, you identify them as Alex and Chris. They're neither male nor female. And Chris is the perfect customer, the perfect client that comes into your life that does as they're told, never leaves things to the last minute, never phones you out of hours, never sends you a Facebook message. She is just the perfect client. Alex, of course, is the opposite. Alex is the sort of person that you just basically want to take a rusty spoon and poke your own eye out with to even deal with them, because it's just hard work. And we've all got lots of those in our practice, I had lots of those in my practice, because the philosophy was, let's go and pick up lots of clients. Who? Well, anybody. We had no filter system. Just if somebody said, I'd need an accountant, right, sign them up. And then I was just on a mission to sign up client after client after client after client, and never really realized that if I actually had the right clients, then my whole business would completely change. My whole way of working completely changed, because I'm now working with a bunch of really nice people who do as they're told and happy to pay, and life's great.
I think certainly when I was sort of back in my professional career in accountancy, we would obviously give lots of our clients advice in terms of what they're doing. But in terms of what you did, you actually took on a mentor as that. So you sort of did what you were advising your clients to do yourself.
Yeah. As part of that marketing exercise to learn about marketing, we came across various people in our life who actually then we employed to be our mentors, and go one stage further and find out what is it that's got to change. And what's interesting is none of this was related to anything to do with software or technology, because we had Iris. That just did the job. And there was a moment where I was like, well, thank goodness we had Iris, because I didn't have to think about accounts and tax and compliance, because it just did it somewhere in the background. But what I had to do was change my thinking, change my mindset towards the whole of this whole business, the business as a whole. As a business owner, my duty is to serve my clients, to be of service to them, not to be a servant. I'm not there as, Cinderella rushing around at the dead of night helping them. I'm there to provide service to them, to see what I can do to enrich and help and improve their lives. And some of that's not even monetary related. Sometimes clients just want somebody to talk to, but they want to talk to you now in the moment. One of the things I was talking to somebody the other day is clients are a little bit like Usain Bolt. It's 100 miles an hour to the end of the month. That's all they're thinking about, is how can I get to the end of the month and pay payroll and meet the VAT bills and pay my suppliers. That's where they are. And we had to find a way of joining them in that conversation that they're having and in the time frame that they're having. And in order to do that, I had to change the way I thought and think about everything that we do, including my own thought process. And that's where the mentors have been invaluable to me over the years, where I can go and talk to them objectively about what we're trying to achieve.
So we get to, 2017 now. Timeline-wise, sort of everything's sort of starting to fall in line with each other. I think when we spoke, you talk about that you felt you cracked the code, and there was 3 things that you felt were this thing that I think you got them stuck to your wall back at the office.
Yeah. So it'd be great to say, well, I did this, and then I did this, and then everything was perfect. And it's of course not like that. During that whole journey, there was some tough times, some tough conversations with, for example, clients that I really liked and I really enjoyed working with, but they weren't the ideal client because they would actually suck my time away and break my rules and stuff like that. So I had to part with those clients, good staff that we had, who we had to, let go because they didn't want to come on the journey that we wanted to do. So there was a lot of tough conversations along there. But part of the understanding of the bigger picture was that there was 3 elements, 3 principles that we had to get right. We had to get really good at pricing, because fundamentally that's what it's all about. If we didn't get our pricing right, then we're not going to make a profit. So we had to get our pricing really sorted out. We had to focus on systems. That's every system within your business, from your marketing systems to the technology that we use for managing the workflow, to automated diary systems that we have, how our phones are answered, all of those technology systems and processes that we have. And then the third part of it was positioning ourselves in our little world, in our marketplace, so that we gained back the respect that we in this industry have earned over the years and perhaps are losing a little bit. The accountant has always been the respected person of the community, because we have a lot of skill and a lot of profession to offer our clients. But yet somehow we were allowing ourselves to be called up at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night on a WhatsApp message asking some dumbass question that really is just being lazy, And we had to change the way that we position ourselves within that community of people that we operate. So those 3 things have been, the core of everything that we do moving forward.
And I suppose the technology story of chapter 1 was around Iris giving you efficiency for compliance and things like that. What would be the technology story for chapter 2 for you then?
The biggest breakthrough with technology was we were using actually our own bookkeeping system for many, many years. And I recognized that suddenly this cloud stuff was available. I didn't really know what it was, but I started to realize, oh my God, you can actually process this, not just a case of searching. You could do things as an application in the cloud. And I did a whole pile of research, and I stumbled across Cashflow before you guys purchased it. And I thought, this actually looks really good. I like this. And then all of a sudden it went a bit quiet online, and I thought, somebody's bought it and they're going to dump it, And sure enough, Iris bought it. And the moment they bought it, I just thought, it's in safe hands now. We can use this because they're going to take this and make it work with Iris Suites and everything else. And so I embraced the whole of everything about Cashflow. And rather than do all the bookkeeping for ourselves, we get all our clients to do our bookkeeping, and we teach them. And we use video technology. And because we use video technology to show people how to do things with their cash flow, I thought, what else can I use video for? So we now present accounts and tax computations, and I answer complex questions using video. I haven't written a letter for probably nearly 10 years now. We use video a lot now for communication. And it enables us to work collaboratively, is that the word? With clients, so that they can actually really gain the benefit of working with the technology themselves. We can be on hand to help them and serve them that way. And then suddenly that whole aspect of the cloud systems comes together. One of my favorite pieces of software is a little piece of software called Calendly, which controls my calendar, which means if somebody wants to talk to me, I just send them an appointment and they can choose when to speak to me. They can speak to me anytime they want to, so as long as with the time frame that I allow, and it fits in beautifully. That saves hours of tennis match of emails backwards and forwards and all the rest of it. So all this cloud technology has really enabled us to work with our clients. And we've taken that a little bit further now because we then introduced some automation technology for communicating to our clients. So we have behavioral software where we send emails out to clients to remind them of things. And if they don't click on it, they continue down getting a whole bunch of reminders. And at some point, they'll click on something. And then when they click on something, they'll get another set of reminders that will be driven off the back of whatever they've decided to do. That all took time to set up. But in doing so now, when we send out information, it's a little bit of text in a box, press go, and if necessary, 28 emails will go off over the next 9 months as a result of that information. And I don't have to do any of that other than the once to set it up.
So we're getting towards the end of your sort of This Is Your Life episode. So we've had the sort of the fight part of it, which was the struggle as you grew and sort of realized that it was a business that you didn't quite enjoy working in. And then you took that same business. So it wasn't as if you just sold it off and then started afresh. You, as I said, you redecorated the house while you still lived in it. And that was your insight phase. We move into the final part, which is this idea of freedom. What do you feel you've sort of got now? We talked about you've cracked this code.
My mentor, John, talks about personal sovereignty, which is doing what you want, whenever you want, with whom you want to. It's just the freedom to do what you want. And we all say, we're all free, but are we really free? And that's really what was been driving a lot of this, is that I wanted to be able to have a business that I could run on my terms. I could go into the office whenever I wanted to. I could take days off whenever I wanted. I could do other projects. I could actually work it in so that I didn't have all that stress and all that pressure that comes with being an accountant, the demands from all our clients. And that stress and pressure is getting rid of stress and pressure is worth hundreds of thousands of pounds as far as I'm concerned, because it gives me better health. It gives me a better way of living. We spend most of our time at home now. Our office is at home. My daily routine now is completely different to it was.
So what are you going to do with the 5 weeks that Dave saved you or something like that now? So,
well, it's interesting because I've learned some stuff here today, and there's still some improvements we can do. There's little things in there that we can do. And I guess that's what we're doing now, is we're looking at every component of our business and we're saying, well, if we can save a bit of time here and save a bit of time here and just save a bit of time here, all of that will all add up together. And I now employ a lady called Barbs, and with regard to staff, we live in North Dorset. There's 3 people to choose from, and 3 of them aren't accountants. It's really, the pool of talent where we are isn't that great. So we needed somebody to drive all this technology. So Barb sits in the Philippines, and we have 3 of us in our company. Barb's is the only full-timer. Me and Vicky are part-time, and the business runs beautifully. She's processing stuff now, but I don't want her to have all my problems. I want her to also have a great life and automate things and get things through faster. And I think the guys from Flinders call it data engineers or something. And that's what she really is. She's an accountant, but she's engineering and making all these pieces of technology work in harmony. Because until you could bring out elements, we've got to steel bolt it together ourselves.
So we get to 2019 now. And actually from when we start looking at that graph again, everything is sort of back up to, well, you've managed to get all 3 things to align. Yeah. And actually the business is sort of back to sort of where it was in 2008 from a turnover point of view, but very, very different from a type of client that you work with point of view.
Yeah, I mean, when we started out, I ran some numbers. We did last year 75% of the turnover we did when we had 10 staff. And there's 1 full-time member and 2 part-timers. That's the sort of level we're at. We have virtually no overheads. We have 1 full-time member of staff that we pay for. And Iris, I treat Iris as my number 1 member of staff, because everything I pay for Iris, it gives me back 10 times over. I mean, we've had conversations before where it's free. Iris is free because it gives us all of the results, unquestionably, it's right every time. Every time we get a report and it's wrong, it's never Iris. It's always the person connecting the chair to the keyboard that is the person who gets it wrong. But you know it. And that information that's coming through all this technology and having that ability means that, my desk at home I have no apps on my desk. I use Google Chromebooks a lot now because I don't have anything on my computer. It's all in the cloud. And the staff are in the cloud, and the work is in the cloud, and the clients are working in the cloud. And if I need to meet with somebody, I'll just pick my laptop up and go and meet them.
So we get to, I suppose, 2020, and to really prove that you've sort of managed to get your work-life balance back on track, you have a dog, a new dog, so Eddie. Yeah.
Meet Eddie.
Yeah. So we've got about 20 minutes of video of Eddie now. So. But we sort of talk about, you've often sent, and if you ever watch any of Kevin's videos on LinkedIn in particular, Kevin is often out walking Eddie. And if you get a bit distracted that you've missed the message because you're watching where the dog's gone and if it's ever going to come back in the background to that. The type of clients you work with now, there's a lady you often talk about that she really changed her business, and she spends quite a lot of time with you.
Yeah.
Not many accountants take their clients away to hotels, not for legitimate reasons, at least. So,
Yeah, so what we've done is we've worked out the sort of service that we can offer our clients. And so compliance is still there. We still do tax and accounts and bookkeeping, and we don't do much bookkeeping, but we assist with the cash flow side of things. But that compliance stuff is still done. But we sit down with our clients and say, okay, so what's your problem? What's your challenge? And they tell you, they say, well, this is my problem. This is what I want to achieve. Well, we can't help you once a year. That challenge is going to require some ongoing conversations. We're going to need to meet you regularly, whether that's once a month or once a quarter or whatever. And for our top clients who kind of really want some proper help and buy into the fact that we're here to help them, we take them away once a quarter for 2 or 3 days to a 5-star luxury hotel and immerse them into, if you like, a mini retreat. We get them away from their business, away from their family, away from all distractions, and we look after them and treat them to great food, and it's a tough job, somebody's got to do it, and we look after them, but we actually spend the whole time working really hard at understanding the problem. And this particular lady was insistent that she wanted to grow the turnover of her business. She wanted it to, double. And on the second session with her, she hadn't done any of the work we said, and she ended up in tears. And because she ended up in tears, she then admitted what the real problem was, and that is that she hated her business. And so now we knew what the real problem was, we could then do something about it. And we're nearly 2 years on now. She hasn't attended her business for the last 12 months. She's making more money than she ever did before, and she's now pursuing another career in something completely different that she's loving because we knew what her problem was. And that's where the service comes in, because you go, okay, what is your problem? They won't always tell you straight away, but you've got to get to what it is your clients really want and then help them achieve that. It is never a tax return and a set of accounts.
I'm not sure whether anyone was watching the video closely, but the bit we left in is when the dog ran straight into Kevin and knocked him off his feet. So we've got to the end of that sort of 13 years, really, and so the chart above us shows where, those 3 things were sort of all out of kilter, really, as we look through it. And now you've got to that point where you align those 3 things. I think, sort of in summary for everybody, I think the one thing we talked about, this idea of silver bullets, is that your goals changed all the way through this. What you started off in 2018 isn't what you've got now as a business. Yeah.
No. I suppose underneath it, the goal was, the ultimate goal was I was seeking my own happiness to run my business that would make me happy, make me proud, make me feel like it was something that, I loved doing.
Yeah.
And during that period of growth, I hated it. I mean, sell it, I would give it away. I hated it that much. So I had to change something. And today we're sitting there, and I love what I do, and I'm looking forward to the next.
And in terms of, I suppose, one piece of advice to give everybody is that idea of enlist support. I think when we were talking earlier, you sort of said, I've got a team of 10, but actually you only employ, there's only 3 of you employed, and you've got this wider group of people that are part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do everything. You can't do every single aspect of tax. So I've got people like VAT experts I bring in and tax experts I bring in, people who answer my phones for me and admin people, all that sort of stuff. That's all done. Marketing is all outsourced, etc. But the biggest thing that I gained from all of this was to find somebody to help me run my business, help me be a better business person, help me figure that out. That has probably been the biggest and most critical factor of everything we've done.
Great. Right, we've reached the end of our session. Big round of applause for Kevin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.